TOEFL test?
For most universities, you do have to take TOEFL. Harvard actually does not consider the TOEFL because the level of applicants that they're seeing from around the country, around the globe, is high enough that they expect people to have a certain level of fluidity without the TOEFL. So they're really going to look at your SAT verbal or your ACT verbal component.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I didn't understand what you said about playing professional before college, or if you have a kind of a year.
Gap year, for instance.
If there's a gap year, there are new rules in college. Well, they're not new rules. They're about 10 years old now.
Yeah.
We don't like the rule, but if a person takes a gap year, the NCAA, that's our national governing body, say that you have to be in college within 6 months of graduation from your normal high school time. So you can't delay your graduation. If you started 9th grade and then you stay back a year, you can't delay it. The clock starts when the rest of your class would have graduated. If you stay out a year, you can compete for the first 6 months after that, but after that time, if you compete in anything, you'll actually lose a year of eligibility. So if you're okay practicing, you can actually take another year to get physically stronger and grow up, but you can't be competing after December until you would come in. Does that answer that? So this universal tennis, we lose people from a great game because we don't give them a good game, and this happens at every level. What makes a good game? Universal came up, their founder, the tennis pro for life, he looked at the French system. The French system is probably the best development system in the world, and I don't want to offend any country. But right now they produce 12 times more players per capita than the United States. They're about the size of one of our states, Texas. And they produce world-class players 12 times more frequently than we do. And the players can play close to home in what we call level-based events based on a rating. So universal tennis is a way of making the French system work globally with a more understandable rating system, incorporating results from every level of competition. And eventually, in France, they'll keep many more of their players that aren't going to be great players. They'll keep many more of those players in the game, which in turn keeps tennis more robust, more healthy in everyone's country. So we feel that this is a way to re-energize tennis. The special sauce, Universal rates tournaments. Eventually they say, if you can get 7 games or more in a tennis match, a 2 out of 3 tennis match, probably both players have benefit from that match. 6-4, 6-3, 7-5, 6-4. We call that a competitive match. So the founder of this looked at all the different systems of competition, looked at the ATP Tour, found that it reached it 70% of the time. Their players are so closely aligned that they have a great match 70% of the time. He looked at college tennis on the men's side, also 70% of the time. Both of those systems are what we call level-based. You're playing against people not based on your age, but rather your skill level. When he looked at USTA junior tournaments, he found it was 27% of the time. Parents were paying for 4 matches, and they were getting 1 good match out of it. They were going to a hotel, renting a car, kids were often leaving school, and that too often happens when we put too many people of a certain age into a certain tournament. Some players get humiliated, some players get bored. The net effect is that nobody's improving as fast as they can. Our premise is in the United States, we're trying to improve the competitive level of all of our events. Imagine if we could go from 27% to 50 or 60% because we put people together in the right levels right away. The productivity of our system has to go up. The beauty of this is that when you put people together by levels, you now begin integrating vertically age groups. 16-year-olds can play with 34-year-olds. So instead of having to travel a long way to find another 16-year-old, you may find that there's a 34-year-old in your town who can beat you and from whom you can still learn a lot. So it makes it more affordable for parents who can, in France, I spoke with player who was top 10 junior in France, and he said until he was 16 or 17, he didn't have to leave his area. So imagine if you didn't have to feel that you had to go play ITF events in Uzbekistan to earn points. Those are loyalty points. They don't make you a better tennis player. And my belief when we look at the level of all the people playing the ITF events, as good as they are and as great as travel is an experience, parents are paying $2,000 a match. That's a lot of money, and how many people can afford to do that? 95% of those players can find a place in college without doing that. So in Norway alone, if you built a system where you kept your older players, some that might have gone to play in the United States, you kept more of those players going, all of you parents could save money. All of the juniors would start to improve faster, and they wouldn't have to miss as much school. Essentially, they'd be staying home to take the trash out. They could actually learn to use the washing machine. So that's the special part about that. So you see, these are the statistics that come, and what was appalling to us is that 27%. And my bet, I don't know, Oyvind, do you get similar things that happen where you get a lot of the good players beat the bad players? I don't mean the bad players, but the less experienced players. So what's a UTR? Provides tennis players worldwide a common scale to determine their level of play. It's a 16-level scale from beginners to elite world-class professionals, and it reliably determines individual player rating based on actual match results without regard for age, gender, or where matches are played. One of the most interesting parts of the system is that Universal, instead of rewarding you for matches won and lost, they reward you for games won versus games lost. So the beautiful thing about that is if you're a junior and you're losing 6-4 to a person and you're down 3-love in the second set, a lot of juniors say, well, the heck with that, I'm going to lose anyway. And they stop trying. Billie Jean King looked at this system and she said, I love this system because you're training people to fight for every game. In the algorithm that Universal Tennis uses, you'll actually, if you get more games than anticipated against a better player and lose, your rating will actually go up. It's a strongly motivating force in Universal Tennis that makes people keep trying. You've seen this. Measures your personal best. So if you're a track runner or a swimmer, you know that it's possible to lose a race and still know that you've swum or ran your personal best. I think as a junior player, when I watch juniors, I think they are awfully tough on themselves. They either succeeded and they're elated, or they failed, and you have to put them on a suicide watch. This system allows them to judge themselves by a healthier metric and find better competition. Ratings versus rankings, I've already talked a little bit about that. In our system, we have a lot of players playing. I promise you that the kid who's ranked 398 in the 16 and under is demotivated to compete. The person who's ranked a 10 on the universal rating scale has no idea how many people are around him or her, simply knows, I just need to get to try to develop the skills I need to become an 11. That emotionally is a much healthier way to begin to think about development. When I met with the Finnish Tennis Association a couple of days ago, they right away realized the economy of having their best players be able to match up with the best players in Norway and Denmark, Sweden. How much easier it would be for you all to come together, to work together, to produce healthier environments for your kids without having to send them all over. I keep saying Uzbekistan. It's nothing against Uzbekistan, but that's what we call a soft point. Easier to get points. Ranking systems based on points per round, I call undevelopment systems. Why? Because it teaches people to go for the greatest reward for the least risk. That's not a healthy way for a tennis player to think about improving. We've seen that this universal provides for how well you actually do in a given match. Points per round systems don't solve the problems of soft points. At every level of the game where you use points per round, Some parts of your country will be weaker, some parts will be stronger. When you use a rating, we know those weaker players actually have a lower rating because all the results are tied together in one silo. ATP has soft points, WTA same, ITF, we know their soft points, same thing in the USTA, and the list goes on. So we find people getting into tournaments who don't belong, but they've had enough money to spend to get the right points, and other people who are good enough, but they don't have the money to spend and don't get in. Challenges many juniors to get full credit for their tournament competition due to aging up. In the United States, as soon as you get to be level age 13, you lose all the points that you had in the 12 and under, and you have to start spending double to go collect points again. I don't know how your system works like that.
It's not the same.
Okay, good for you. So there are different systems. There are 2,700 ranking systems worldwide. We felt it was time for there to be one way that people could judge. We call it apples to apples comparison. There's national junior circuits you have. We have ITF junior circuit. We have college results. We have high school results. We have club and regional rankings. All those system results are brought together for the universal tennis rating. So they'll credit you from any developmental pathway. Calculated on the last 30 matches within 12 months. The idea of a junior's probably going to take about 3 months, maybe 4 months to get those 30 matches. An adult who doesn't get to play except on the weekend might take 8 months, 9 months. The idea is to look at your body of work, not to have you obsess about your last win or your last loss, but simply say, based on my body of work, this is the kind of competition I should look for. So whether you're looking for an ITF event and saying, I could go to this ITF event or this ITF event, if I go to this one based on the universal ratings, I will find a healthy blend of competition. I have a chance to win some matches, probably not going to win the tournament. If I go here, I'm going to get killed, or I'm going to win too easily. UTRs are based on games won versus games lost. Your opponent's rating determined, so it's really, you can see your rating go up and down every day of the week. It's not something to obsess about, it's something to be used as a tool. And your opponent's reliability. We're working with federations now to get more of your domestic tournament results into the system. Because the more all of you, if you don't get to play many ITF events, or you don't play any, you don't yet have a reliable rating according to UTR. We'd like to be working with federations all over the world to get those results, just as we do with Tennis Canada, the British Lawn Tennis Association. Spain's interested now. South Africa's has said they want to convert to it. At every level, all of us get better information to make good decisions when we pool our resources. And that's the world we live in now. We have 253,000 players, 204 countries rated around the world. There are 3.25 million match results. That's a picture from old IBM when it was, that's how they used to collect data. Now we do it on a computer, and we can do it for much less. And we have ratings for every one of these college teams, 2,152 college teams, and you can look up the rating and say, could I play on that? And we know that much more goes into a college decision than that. And for me as a coach, much more goes into my choice of whom I will recruit. But this is my very first step. As soon as I get the email from someone, I look it up. Yes?
Where do we find the list of colleges?
It's, if you go on universaltennis.com,
Okay.
what they do is it's called in business, it's called a freemium model. The basic membership is free always. That will show you integers. There are 2 levels of subscription that you can pay either $4.95 a month or $8.95 a month. So for about $80 a year, you have filters to look up every single college team. If you're a junior and you're not interested in college yet, I would suggest the $4.95. Compared to one tennis lesson, it's a great deal. Yes?
Okay, and as per now, if you want to apply for college, do you have to play abroad before that? Do you need ITF points or the TE points?
It depends what level.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be working with federations sooner so that we will have your son or your daughter's domestic results in the system sooner. That's what our hope is. Eventually, if federations don't do that, we will also electronically try to acquire that. But that's a matter of this company's resources, having enough resources to do it. Yes?
How do you know which sort of college you're going to look at or choose or try to play for, or at which level your son or daughter should play?
Well, once you know your son's or daughter's level, and if you don't know that, you probably know the level of other players who are playing ITF events, and you can look them up and see, okay, that person is a level 10. And you look up any college that you've heard about or think would be interesting, and you can do a search and find all the colleges that have playing levels like that. It's a pretty remarkable tool, and it's only going to get better. But I'm happy to show you if I can actually bring it up and see if you stay at the end. Yes?
Yes, Norway is not part of this, so the Norwegian Tennis Federation is not
Not yet.
yet. No. Sweden and Denmark and Finland.
I'm meeting with Dave Vandelin. Has arranged for us to meet with Denmark on Monday.
Tomorrow, and
Yeah.
Sweden the next
Sweden
day.
on Tuesday. And Finland is all, they love the idea of having their players rated. See, Helen's looking at you.
So, but I can say that, you know, yeah. No, it's, you know, because this timing is perfect, you know, because, you know, when I saw this in our action plan, it's on the internet, you can read it, it said that we are going to reform tournament system in Norway. I'm not sure if you saw that, but the board had decided to really look into change, and 15 years ago when I came back from the States, I saw what you did in the States, you know, where you did tournaments based on levels. And I'm a big believer myself, you know, doing this and trying to get there instead of entering rankings. So this is perfect, you know, for us now, because we are going to make decisions within a short time. And if we can get all the other nations together with this, and the Finns were really positive, you said, so it starts, and I think that really this makes it's a little bit easier to maybe get that decision to take place pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, we've approached this as a collaborative effort to make tennis around the world better for every family, every player, every association. We believe that the associations will work better when they have tools. We actually have, in universal rating, they now have historic ratings, so you can see how you were 6 months ago. Tennis Australia love that because they want to be able to compare the development of their juniors that they're funding. They want to compare how they're doing with Norway, with England, with the USTA. Coaches can actually see how are our players doing. Players get more motivated when they see themselves against an international backdrop. Say, I can do better than that. So when you play only within your own country and only within your own age group, it's easy to get what we call a swelled head. Think you're much better than you are. When you actually see the level of players, I'll give you an example. 2 juniors from France came over and were the winner and the finalist in the Orange Bowl 2 years ago. Orange Bowl is a big championship in Florida. If an American won that in the 16 and under, we would be putting him headlines everywhere, saying this is the next Pete Sampras. We would even do that if the person was 12 years old. Now, do you know how bad that is for a 12-year-old to think that they're the top of the pile? What happens emotionally after that time? They begin to protect. They say, well, I'm already the best. Now I have to hold off everybody else. The whole psychology of it is unhealthy. These 2 French juniors, they said, it's great, I got a trophy and I got a tan. They go home, they can't wait to get back into the French Open tournaments and start competing and see if they can get to be a pro. They've got a very healthy system to go back into. All of our countries here can produce that same similar qualities to a system like that. It's really fun. Just a real quick explanation about the French system. They may have a tournament that lasts 3 weeks or a month. Players come in at a lower level and qualify for the chance to play a player who only enters the tournament at that level. And that player may then play the winner of that, and another person who comes in at that level. The winner will come out and get a chance to play an even better player. And pros, whom we want to keep involved, will come in on the last weekend of that tournament. They don't have to begin back here, they start in the quarterfinals. And they can earn $1,000, $2,000. So imagine if you kept your best players going longer, they would be educating your 16 and 17-year-olds at a fraction of the cost that parents are now spending to go get ITF points. Am I making sense? Great. So this is what we do. I believe in it 100%, and in 7 years of telling people about it, I have not found one person who said this is not a better system. This would be a way to go to regenerate, re-energize tennis worldwide. You can sign up for the free subscriptions, universaltennis.com. Take a look, and thank you. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Good. Google Translate.
From Harvard, or is it from?
No, actually, it was a tennis pro in Virginia, and he developed a system, but when I heard about it, nobody knew about it. And so, like a tree falling in the woods, there was nobody there to hear about it. So I was stupid enough to write a very long paper. President of the United States Tennis Association fell in love with the idea and introduced it to their national competition committee. And from then on, it's just continued to gather momentum. The beauty of it is this puts decisions back in the hands of the consumer, the players, the coaches, parents themselves. Players are using that to look at an ITF event, as I said, and see which one should I go to, which feature should I go to.
What I've been using until now is the ITN rating conferences
Yes.
system.
Yeah.
Where you have established countries like the rankings of Switzerland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, etc. With the ITN, I think it's
similar
Yeah.
idea, but it hasn't gained the traction that the ITF hoped to have initially. So we're actually seeing something that has gone through 24,000 players in college. And then as juniors around the world understand, I'd like to go play in college, they're also understanding that it helps them. We're already talking with the ITF about possibilities of using this system to help their efforts to make their junior circuit more relevant. I'll give you an example. When someone goes into a qualifying tournament in an ITF, they may get all the way to the finals, play some of their best tennis. If they don't win and they don't get to the round of 32, they get no points. So parents have spent a lot of money, but the kids get no motivation out of it. What they don't know is they're getting rated on the universal ratings, so they actually are getting credit for it. We believe that that will help the ITF reach into countries and have more productive competitions for that next level down. Have I answered your question?
yeah.
Thank you. Yes?
And in your school, how is a regular day for the students?
We wake them up at 5 in the morning, and then they have to jump into the river.
Is there any spare time?
Yes, they get on Facebook sometimes. They're normal kids. I don't want to make them out to be up here.
No, but they exercise a couple of hours,
Yes,
3 hours
they'll
every day.
exercise. They'll probably spend 3-4 hours between tennis training, going to the weight room, icing. They'll spend that time. It's a full commitment at a Division I level. In college, because they're taking maybe only 4 classes at a time, they have probably fewer hours that they're actually sitting in class. So they have a lot more latitude. They have to be quite organized in the way they do it. Tennis players tend to do very well with it because they've had to keep their grades up when they go and travel and turn papers in on the time when they're gone. So tennis players in general do very well with that. But you want to look for a level where you're son or your daughter is going to be challenged academically, but not overwhelmed academically. So we look for people who are going to be comfortable academically and still want to be great tennis players. We want to be the best in the country, just like every other coach does. Yes?
How many applications do you